Hi, and welcome to BootstrapLabs Applied AI Disruption Keynote. A little bit of a background about myself first. My name is Benjamin Levy. I'm a co-founder of BootstrapLabs, an early-stage venture capital firm focused on applied artificial intelligence. My background is really that of an investment banker turned technology entrepreneur and later became a venture capitalist. I was born and raised in France. I spent the last 20 plus years in Silicon Valley, really advising, building, investing, and selling technology companies. As an investment banker, I did about $5 billion worth of transactions, as well as $300 million private placements, working at various investment banks and boutiques. As an entrepreneur, I built 2 fintech companies, which I sold. And really the last 8 years I've been spent at BootstrapLabs investing in software technology companies, as well as applied AI technology companies for the last 5 years. I'm also a member of the Association for the Advancements of Artificial Intelligence. Briefly about our firm, again, we were founded in 2008 in San Francisco, and we're a leading early-stage venture capital firm focused on applied artificial intelligence. We have gathered an incredible community of 40,000 people made of AI experts, entrepreneurs, executives, follow-on investors. We also have venture studio activities and venture capital investments. This is really the primary focus of our firm. If you think about the areas in which we invest in applied artificial intelligence, they're composed of sectors like enterprise productivity, industrial automation, cybersecurity, health tech, intelligent computing, fintech, energy and climate, mobility, and smart supply chain. These are the areas that we find are most exciting going forward when it comes to applied artificial intelligence. And I will tell you more about what I mean by applied AI. So let's talk about applied AI disruption. If you think about the next wave of disruption, we started with mainframe computers, then went to PC, then went to the internet, then had a mobile wave, and then the cloud, big data analytics, and now we're looking at the artificial intelligence and machine learning disruption wave. And all of this has been really growing bigger and building upon the prior waves, all of that boosted by a cost performance ratio that has been exponential. So if you worry about the major driver of this revolution, what are they? First, we have the compute power that keeps doubling every 18 months, Moore's law. Then we had the storage that was doubling every 12 months for the same price, and the explosion of data. I think more data was created in the last 2 years compared to the creation of mankind. And then ultimately the speed at which we move the information has also doubled every 9 months. Now, if you think that that is what has been driving the evolution of AI today, then you can understand why things are moving so fast. To make it very real for you, I'd like to play a little game. I'm going to show you blueberry muffins, and 16 of those actually. And so blueberry muffin are those little things that people in America love to have for breakfast. I'm going to show them to you, and then I'm going to ask you how many were actually blueberry muffins. All right, that was a short amount of time, and that's the point. I don't know how many you saw, but if you actually look closely, what you're going to see is that there's not only blueberry muffins, but chihuahuas. And so as humans, if we look long enough at these images, we're actually really good at it, and we will pick the dogs from the muffins. But machines actually are getting better and better, actually better than human beings, and much faster identifying these images, which means that today, if you think about performance of AI versus human, the machines are getting better and faster and more accurate than humans, and they can do that at scale, thousands of times, millions of times, 24/7. And so they're really outperforming human when it comes to this sort of image recognition. It's not only images, though, it's also understanding of language and around visions, around specific actions. So again, once AI performance outpaces humans, we're going to see the adoption of this technology extremely fast. And the world is really transforming from what we call automation, which was the prior industrial revolution, if you will, to a world that is more autonomous. So let's go back through the steps to lead us into autonomous systems. First, we did analytics. Analytics was the understanding of the past. Then we went into the ability to predict the future looking at the past. And that's kind of the prediction that we were able to do, what might happen. And once we have a sense of what might happen, we're starting to look at what can we do? What are the prescriptions we can recommend should something happen? And then ultimately, where we are today is that we're building more autonomous systems that learn from the past, predict the future, have scenarios to implement in case the future happens based as predicted, and ultimately we make a lot of autonomous decisions, usually with human in the loop. So why applied AI? What's the difference? Well, you can think of it this way. On one side, you have infrastructure companies, the generic platforms that are horizontal, that are usually less performance in specific areas, but they are convenient to do a lot of things. And so you find the usual players, like Watson, Azure, Google, Amazon. If you think about applied AI and where we see the biggest opportunity as an investor, but also for new companies, is very narrowly focused companies that applied AI in a narrow context, but are outperforming, in order to 10x or 100x the general engines from the big players on the right-hand side for a very narrow focused thing. So one of our portfolio company like Mendel in the healthcare space is able to ingest any sort of data, whether sent from a fax machines or any PDFs, and analyze medical records and be more accurate and more, give more knowledge back to the users using their AI engine compared to anything that Amazon or Google has been able to build so far, or even Watson. So if you look at acquisitions of AI companies as well, to give you a sense, on the very far left, you have what I would call a talent acquisition. DeepMind, $400 million, a lot of IPs, brilliant engineers and researchers. On the other side, you have actually Mobileye that was acquired by Intel for $12 billion. And so what you start to see on this very simple chart is that the better you're able to apply AI to drive value and utilities into a market, the more valuable your company becomes. So AI disrupting every vertical. It's not a matter of if, but when. It's applying AI into the enterprise productivity. Every single operations of a corporation can be, to some extent, improved using AI technology, whether it's sales, whether it's cost of goods sold, it's your marketing, your recruiting. We have made investments like Vidora that helps with automated machine learning optimizations for models for decisions like who else should I be marketing my products to. Or Fortela, that is an automatic B2B marketing engine to make sure you talk to the right audiences. Or sales acceleration company like GetAccept that really start helping corporations in this environment like COVID. All these companies have done very well, as you can imagine. Everybody's transitioning to online sales. But it's also healthcare, which is a very promising area, as we've heard a lot about it for years. But now we see in the context of COVID, actually everything has accelerated. People have said that we have made progress that were not expected to happen for another 5 years. We've made more progress in 2 to 3 months than we've had in 5 years with the adoption of technology. And I'm not talking just telehealth, which is taking the current healthcare and trying to make it remote. We're talking about treating people at the edge, treating them at home, diagnosing them at home, making sure they don't go back to hospitals. We've made investment in mental health and wellness, as we know, has been a massive need around the world as employees stress out with COVID-19, staying at home and managing kids at home as well. On mental health, we have, again, the ability to more efficiently process medical records to discover new applications, and potentially we actually were able to discover some new application of drugs for COVID-19. And then Maya Health, which is helping monitor patients 24/7, understanding what's happening with them and preventing them to being sent to the hospital when they don't have to. So again, keeping patients healthy on the edge and continuous monitoring. Again, every sector you can think of is being impacted. Energy and another one. We're going to see a lot more innovation on that front. A lot of players are moving to clean energy. And as you can imagine, optimizing the grid, the trading of the energy is important going forward. And we're going to have more processing and security issues we're going to need to tackle there. Mobility and logistics is the most visible one, I think. We read about it every day. Everybody talks about autonomous vehicle. It's going to take a while for them to really be live and at scale, impacting your economy, but it's happening. And we've made several investments in this space. Agile aerospace is a fun environment. I don't know about you, but I get to see a bunch of crazy projects that people build in their garage at a very low cost. And I think that's what we're witnessing today. The ability to democratize access to AI technology and new manufacturing processes that allow you to build incredible innovation on a fraction of the cost you used to be able to do before. So we're going in a world where we go from coding every possibility, where it was really kind of a decision tree where you hard code the rules, to a world where you design and teach frameworks, design teaching frameworks, and you establish reward function so that actually the software can code itself. So that little video here from Google DeepMind will actually, what's impressive about this video is that the little avatar you see is learning on its own to move based on the body it has and the physics engines built into the virtual world. That character was never told you have a foot, you have a knee, you have a leg, is literally figuring out how he can move and how he can jump over obstacles on his own. So again, this is what's really a game changer here, is that we went from a world where we had to tell the system to do everything to here creating frameworks so that the system can learn by itself what should be done. So another disruptive element in this AI revolution is the cost of designing, training, and learning is decreasing exponentially. And it's not just true for software. I think what's really big about this disruption is it's actually impacting the physical world. And so if you think about how we were building things before, whether it were robots or cars, we had to design them, we had to build and manufacture them, and then we had to test them and then improve the designs, between 1 and 100 times. And all of these steps were extremely expensive, taking months and years. Now, the disruption that's taking place is that design is happening very fast. We then simulate in a virtual environment where we can test millions of times in parallel until we get the right design with the right shape, the right code, and then ultimately we build and manufacture. So the process goes from months to years to a matter of hours and days and weeks on the first side, and then days, weeks, and months on the other side. And so this is really disrupting, not only the virtual world, but the physical world. And here's just an image of simulation that you can run on Unity, which is a physics engine primarily used for games, but now it's being used also for training self-driving cars into a virtual environment and creating all sorts of scenarios that may take years for you to encounter into the real world. And so we can now start training, at scale in the cloud, autonomous vehicles, and make sure that by the time they actually manufacture, we have incredible engines that have encountered a lot of driving situations. So what is hard for large corporations today in what's happening? The question I ask corporations and executives when I meet with them is, when's the last time you made a venture investment? When is the last time you made an acquisition? When is the last time you hired and retained top technology talent in your company? And ultimately, when did you launch a new product? Was it last week? Was it last quarter? Is it every quarter? Is it maybe every year? Was it a couple of years ago? Ask yourself, what is the pace at which you innovate in your company? And then repeat all of these questions with the word AI in front of it. When is the last time you made an AI venture investment? When is the last time you made an AI acquisition? And often people go blank because they have not done any of these things and they are falling behind very fast. So technology is moving at exponential speed, and so will the fourth industrial revolution. In 3 to 5 years, the race will be won or lost by most players that are playing the game today. So who will be tomorrow's leaders? If you think 30 years ago, these were the leaders of the S&P 500. And if you look at the digitalization wave that took place after the internet, all the leaders have completely changed. The only company that stays on the leaderboard is ExxonMobil. And again, these market caps are a bit old. They are from 2018, as you can see. But it took about 30 years, and the valuation of these companies have now increased by 10x. We believe that tomorrow's leaders will be companies using and leveraging AI. They will take less than 15 years to get there, and likely going to see another 10x improvement in valuation. So the question is, where's your corporation on this leaderboard, or are we investing into the next generation leaders as venture capitalists? And that's absolutely what we believe. So what are the leaders doing today? They are aggressively hiring, collaborating, investing, and buying. Number one pain point, hiring and retaining AI talent. $65 billion of venture capital is invested to create the next generation leaders, and we're among the firms that are investing that capital. A lot of M&As have taken place in AI, 650 deals over the last 5 years. We expect that to even accelerate as corporations realize that their current attempt to implement AI is failing. And a lot of them are starting to look at outside partners to accelerate their speed of innovation. A study actually demonstrated that if you are an early adopter of this technology, you will reap the maximum amount of benefit. Here we're looking at the relative change in cash flow. So the front runners are going to see an improvement of 120 times cash flow impact on their cash flow, where the followers, the ones that are absorbing AI by 2030, will see just a bare improvement into their performance because the reward will be taken by all the early adopters of this technology. And the laggards, unfortunately, might just disappear and become irrelevant if they are not able to compete in the marketplace. Another chart that's popular out there is the average age of a S&P 500 company has been decreasing. And by 2027, 75% of the S&P 500 will actually be replaced by new players. And that chart, which shows a constant decrease since 1960s, is actually likely going to be even further impacted by COVID-19 effect. If you have not done your digital transformation, if you're not already very active online, if you're not starting to apply AI and machine learning, you are going to fall way behind and you're likely going to disappear a lot faster. And a lot of that revolution is actually invisible. What happens is that it's happening at the organizational level. So if you think about your org chart, and just a joke here on the side, but if you look at Amazon, the transformation that Amazon did, in only 3 years was incredible. They became an API-driven infrastructure, which means that every single department is basically a product and service to the core. And that change is something that you do not see from the outside, but it's something that allows them to innovate and iterate much faster than any other company on the planet. This is why they are such a leader today. So like the CEO of eBay said, if you don't have an AI strategy, you're going to die in the world that's coming. And these are dire words, not mine, his. But I think it's pretty reflective of the spirit out there. So as a corporation, what are the tools that allows you to accelerate your AI transformation? Of course, M&A, very capital intensive, but at really good speed to transform your organization. Partnerships are one of the fastest ways to transform your organization and not too capital intensive. Hiring is the slowest when it comes to transformation speed, but also maybe less expensive, although AI talent tends to be expensive, and venture capital investments, as well as lab studios. So give you a sense of what are the tools available to you. Now, where do we see the drivers of AI applications? We see them in sales, accelerate sales, closing with data-driven patterns and automation. We see them in the production environment, manufacturing automation, intelligent supply chain management and visibility. If you look at promotion and support, the marketing, customer support, automation is huge. COVID-19 has really stressed every organization, customer support environment. The building of customer care has collapsed, and now we're rebuilding it digitally, trying to get 30% improvement. It's actually working, but massive investment are being made there. Finance and compliance, accounts payable, receivable, managing workflows, all these things, again, AI is impacting today. Even the way you deploy your capital, the way you allocate your capital, you can start building digital twins. You can start running simulation. You can start having predictive maintenance that will tell you when to reinvest and upgrade your equipment. And also, very important one, management. Helping people make decisions faster and better is going to be a key improvement that AI can also bring to the table. So before COVID-19, corporations thought that digital transformation was a multi-year project. Frankly, post-COVID-19, there's a need for swift and radical digital transformation. It's never been greater, and I think it's happening today. And we see great potential for the new portfolio companies we invest into to help with that transformation and become tomorrow's leaders. What are the industries that have been impacted the most? Travel, hospitality, manufacturing, entertainment, retail, construction. What are some of the technology that people are looking to invest into to help them recover from that or transform? AI and big data comes in number one, of course, robotics, new materials, AR, VR, 3D printing, and 5G. Again, powering the speed at which you can move the data. So in summary, as a corporation, you're going to have to fight two wars. One is internally, you need to hire, retain, and ship new products that leverage AI technology. The second war is the one from the external war, where you need to basically enable and stay competitive. And you're going to need to ship these products, or you're going to need to adopt AI internally faster. So how do you master applied AI disruption? Make decisions quickly, focus on key areas, create an AI culture and narrative, build access to and attract top AI talent, leader, and visionaries. M&A are often a great way to bring talent into your organization. Innovate inside and tap inside innovation outside your organization. Do it faster. And then ultimately learn from and partner with emerging innovation players. You cannot do it alone. So all of that is not without challenges. Every major change is always hard. Impact on society. Expansion of autonomous systems in our society will have game-changing impact. We're going to see many jobs being displaced, disrupted. We're going to need to retrain. And that's no longer just people in factories, but it's people in offices as well. And then ultimately, we might see a disparity in incomes and demand in jobs and skills. And that will need to be addressed as well. So what are the key challenges to overcome? Fear, job creation and job destruction, ethic, safety, security, bias, and explainable AI is an important leap that we need to make. Privacy and regulatory and politics. So the race to artificial intelligence is on, and of course, a lot of press around China and America, of course, Europe coming into the mix and a few other nations. Top AI talents actually train and works in the US. This chart shows the massive flow of people that are going to the US for any education and training, but also how many people are staying in the US for their job and employment. And that's among the very top AI researchers today. If you look at global distribution, where AI companies or where companies are applying AI in a commercial settings, the United States is far ahead of other nations. Again, China tracking behind, and UK and others. So stakes are high and competition is fierce. Race for data, race for talent, and race for applied AI breakthroughs. Some nations are already in regions around the world are falling behind. Government needs to adopt a framework that enables their corporations, their national companies, their talent, their universities to understand how to apply AI and teach people how to use AI and set frameworks to do it safely and ethically. And so as you can see on this chart, the regions of the world circled in blue are the ones that have not really established AI policies, if you will. Again, I think people need to start thinking about it as a nation, not just as a company. So we do need code of ethics and treaties endorsed by nation states to protect the core values and ways of life. I think it's important to understand where you deploy the technology and to what effect. But ultimately, those should be guidelines, combined with means of enforcing the guidelines, but they should not tell people what to do, right? The role of governments is to set frameworks and safeguards and empower people to do things and do it in a safer manner, but not tell them exactly what to do. Don't drive the car, make a safer road. The word sabotage, actually being French, interestingly, comes from sabot. And then, at the time where people were fearing the machines, they threw their sabot into the weaving machines to break them. And so hence the word sabotage. We don't want to create this fear of AI. Actually, the machines, help the industry take off and hire many more people when initially people were afraid of it. So we need a positive narrative for AI. We don't want to create a world that is human versus machine. We want to create a world where human and machine collaborate together, leverage each other's strengths, and mitigate weaknesses. So recently, Elon Musk, we're talking about really merging the human and machine intelligence. Maybe that's coming down the road. Today, right now, my vision is more for visions where we have human and machine combined, forming what we call human augmented technology, also known as extended intelligence. And with that, I thank you for the opportunity to make this presentation today, and I look forward to your questions.